Hello. Today we are exploring the idea of sacred space. As we become more aware of our role as a conscious co-creator, we can then perceive ourselves within our surroundings with new awareness. Sacred space is a concept that speaks to a location or an environment where the energies are positive, where the energies are uplifting, supportive. Oftentimes, when we think about sacred space, we think about going somewhere to another location in order to be in sacred space. Well, today, what I would like to introduce and ask you to consider is the sacred space within you. After all, inside of us, we are connected to life itself, to spirit, to all of the divine essence of life. When we're able to quiet our mind, move our attention inward toward our breath, then we begin to create a connection with and access to the sacred space already living within us. Once we have full connection with that, and we are able to access that, then we can bring that centeredness, that awareness forward in every activity we undertake in our daily life. Whenever you become aware of a challenging situation or you feel heavy emotions within your body, then you can choose to move your awareness into your breath and access that place of sacred space. Now that we are in the energies of 2012, it's important to have tools that we can use in order to center ourselves and come into that most powerful place of our being. There will be challenges in the outer world as change is increasing, things are accelerating. And this just brings us to becoming more responsible. We can choose to be more responsible. In other words, increase our ability to respond. And one of those ways is to seek the sacred space within your breath, within your heart. It's always there. Thank you.
There is nothing but sacred space. So that is the premise, perhaps the reality, that there is nothing but sacred space. So that's the space all around us. It's everywhere we go, where we work and where we be and interact on the outside. It's also everything inside of us. So if everything is sacred space, how come it doesn't always feel like that? Maybe it doesn't often feel like that in our days. We've all had experiences of being at beautiful places. It could be a church, it could be the pyramids, it could be the ocean, the mountains, a beautiful place or an experience of a child being born, experiences that we might call sacred space, or we might recollect that experience as a moment of sacredness. And yet, if it's all sacred space, and all the great traditions, all the great Eastern traditions, Taoism and Buddhism and the other Western traditions of Islam and Judaism and Christianity, they all point to Spirit, Holy Spirit, and talk about this sacred nature that we swim in. It's like we're fish swimming in spirit and sacred space. And yet we're not often aware of that in our daily moments. So why is that? What keeps us from the realization and from the knowing that we live in sacred space? Well, we might guess that it's the mind and the busyness and the activity of the mind and the way the mind has been programmed by our culture, by our families, by ourselves. we've been programmed to create the world and agree that this is what it looks like, and we have to be busy like this, and parents and fathers and husbands need to be busy and do certain things. And when the mind is dominant in the way that it is for most of us, we don't have that simple connection. We don't have the awareness and the physical connection to sacred space. The connection could be as simple as taking a mindful breath. It could be as simple as, we close our eyes for a moment and we put our attention on our bodies and we let the next breath come in with full attention on our breath, using our imagination, watching and following the breath come into the body, feeling that experience, really feeling it in our bodies and putting our attention there. And in that moment when the mind gets silent, we can begin to feel a connection to something that is all of who we are, and also the realization, the remembrance that we are so much more than the mind has us think that we are. So this is a great inquiry for our times. How can I live more in sacred space at the supermarket? How can I be in sacred space with my boss or my employees or my associates? How can I create sacred space with my wife and my kids when we're busy making breakfasts and lunches and getting them ready to get on the bus in the morning? And one of the most valuable things is that inquiry. It's that question. And it's born of a desire. The sacred space, the all that is life, is desiring us to be more fully expressed. It's desiring us to be creative partners in life. So by simply opening up the door and asking that question about how can I have more of an awareness of sacred space in my days, that question itself will start to soften us, open us up, to let the sacred space come out, to let the sacred space come in and move through us, and to let us simply be more aware of the beauty and the miracle that life is in every moment. So let's create a challenge for ourselves. It's a sacred space challenge. And the idea is to simply find some moments today. How can I find some moments today to be in sacred space, to sit in sacred space? It might be as simple as a couple or 3 or 5 breaths. It doesn't need to be 5 or 10 or 20 minutes or more, although that would be lovely. So the challenge is, how do I give myself some moments today to remember that I'm swimming in sacred space? And the hint is that the breath is our partner in this. And the next level of the challenge is, how can I extend this practice and this inquiry to some other people in my life? It may be your beloved, it may be a friend, somebody that you feel you can have this conversation with. And then beyond that, how can we extend this conversation to more and more people, or simply connect with all the people that are already in this conversation? There's people have been having this conversation for a long, long time. And as more and more people sit in the realization that this is sacred space, this is a holy, spirit-filled place that we live, we'll start to naturally shift our systems, the way we go about our business, the way we create our communities and our nations, the way that we participate together on this planet will naturally shift as we allow ourselves to steep in the sacred space that's all around us.